There was a time when my town was just a tranquil dot on the map, with its inhabitants leading ordinary lives without major disturbances. However, everything changed when a strange fog began to spread silently, as if it had a life of its own. It didn't take long for us to realize that this fog had a sinister nature, something that transcended our understanding. It all began on a moonlit autumn night when a dense, grayish mist enveloped the town. At first, we thought it was just an unusual weather change, but it soon became clear that it was something much more sinister. There was a kind of fog advancing, condensing, almost as if intelligent, intentional, wandering through the streets. No one knew exactly what to expect, which caught so many off guard. Children playing, couples dancing, all transformed into monuments of despair. What does this mean? Well, the fog gathered on the victim's skin, becoming a sticky and rapidly drying mass. To put it succinctly, imagine those wax museum statues. It was something very similar to that. People petrified by a thick and hard layer of a strange paste, draining their muscles and vitality. Initially, investigations were a tragedy. Most researchers fell victim to the fog, along with much of the police force. It took us a while to discern the pattern of how this really worked. As the days dragged on, we realized that the fog had a life of its own, as if it were a living and conscious organism. The latest research pointed to something of plant origin. Spores, seeds, we couldn't figure it out, but we knew it was a plant epidemic, perhaps the first in the world. But this ended up making our understanding easier. Its transmission occurred through light. Like any respectable plant, these diabolical things were guided toward white light. That's why those exposed to sunlight, artificial lamps, and even electronic screens ended up being bait for these things. The days after the incident were like a long eternal night, a persistent gloom that enveloped everything. I became a nomad, avoiding any hint of light. The streets, now deserted and silent, were adorned with macabre statues, petrified witnesses of the terror that had befallen the city. Rarely did I encounter other survivors. Each meeting was a mix of relief and anguish, because we knew we shared the same uncertain fate. Words were exchanged in whispers, as if silence itself were protection. Houses were modified, windows sealed, heavy curtains blocking any sliver of light. Lanterns were precious relics, used sparingly to avoid attracting the attention of the murderous fog. At night, the city drowned in darkness, illuminated only by trembling and fragile candles, casting unsettling shadows through the empty streets. The discrepancy of a single lit bulb could be fatal, a solitary light standing out like an irresistible lure. But the terror was not limited to physical darkness. Inner darkness was even more agonizing. We discovered more about this thing. The disease spread slowly, like viscous roots infiltrating the victim's entrails. I witnessed people who, despite being immobilized, remained conscious, trapped in their waxen bodies. The horror of being captive of oneself was indescribable. As the roots took hold, they paralyzed the muscles, keeping the eyes open, witnessing the world in a state of perpetual agony. The skin dried up and became translucent, revealing internal organs in a macabre spectacle. Breathing became a dragged sigh, a silent lament echoing in the living statues. The city became a maze of pain and death, where not only our physicality was tested, but primarily the mind. The lack of light, something we were accustomed to, was already leaving some outside their full consciousness. They say hope is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's the problem. We can't light up lights in this city.